but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they see me. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they drive the chains, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Geek Gauntlet Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. William D. Morgan. I have a cast of thousands with me, but we also have a special guest tonight. Oh, man, he's got, and I was impressed. He has a second issue cover, and I was just telling him I'm very impressed with it, and he might be a little bit mad at me because I'm going to put the cover up first, but this cover is awesome. That cover is that has quarter hours written all over it, and I'm loving it. But let me go ahead and bring the man who's responsible for that book. He is our special guest tonight. Let me bring in Richard Duree. Richard, how you doing, man?
Hey. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm really glad to be here. It is a great cover. William Russell did that for me. It was one of my first covers that I commissioned with an artist, and very proud of it.
Thank you. And appreciate you being on as well. Let me go ahead and bring the rest of my crew on, and we'll get started. Let me bring in my girl. She is the cosplay and the TikTok queen. Let me bring my girl, Kat in. Kat, what's up?
How's it going, guys? How's everybody doing tonight?
Hey, what's going on, Kat? How you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Doing good, living the dream, you know.
There you go. Next up, he found his hat. He finally found his hat. Ambrose, what's up, man?
You taught me. I was trying to get a quick bite in before you got me home. Apologies to our guest.
You're good, man.
The nightmares persist, but I endure.
White Sox fan?
Yankees fan, actually, but I just like the history of the White Sox, so
that's cool.
I guess you could say so. Yeah.
Baseball history. That's awesome, man. That's great.
That's his lucky hat. And finally,
Shoeless Joe should be in the Hall of Fame. That's my point.
Yep. And yeah, I agree.
And finally, they bring in my main man. Man's been doing this with me for umpteenth years. We been my man Shaw in. Shaw, what's up?
So what's up, everybody? How y'all doing tonight?
Doing good, man. How you doing, bro?
Chilling.
All right, so let's get the Mr. Richard up here because I have some questions. So
shoot it.
Yes. So how long was this your first cover, this story? How long has this been going from the top of the brain to right now? How long did that manifest before you put out the position?
You know, when you're a writer, you have to write when the lightning is there, when you have that inspiration. About 15 years ago, I was playing D&D with one of my buddies. He'd never played before. He wanted to play, but he wanted to play with the guy with guns. He says, I'm not playing magic. I'm not playing bow and arrow. I want to have real handguns. And I said, you can't do that in D&D. So he says, I'm not going to play. So I had to sit down and create him a character that I could portal back in time when he had guns, but then he wouldn't have to actually, get new ammo back in the day. He had to actually have the ammo in himself. So I had a lot of creating to do, and I actually created a new magic system for D&D that I've imported into this comic series, Orphan Bloodline. It's crazy. It's crazy. You have a blood disorder, so your pain is there. You have trauma, and then you connect it with cybernetics, some kind of like biomachinery, and then together you don't die from the blood disorder. You actually get advanced to have a blood power to use to fight villains or to be a villain. Go either way.
Wow.
It's really a cool way of doing it because you're using real science and using real biology, and you're creating a fantasy world from what we literally could do ourselves today around us with what we have.
Wow. Let me go ahead and bring in someone who I think you are quite familiar with. He's my brother from another mother. He hosts 2 shows here on Geek News Now. Probably the busiest man in podcasting that I know other than myself. Host MCU Mondays and Cantina Happy Hour. Can't talk tonight. With my man David in. David, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Long time, Dave. How you been?
Alive and kicking. We'll say that.
There you go.
On this side of the daisies.
There you go.
Yeah.
Still in the number though.
Yeah.
I'm feeling at number 2. So hey, can't beat that. But let me get back to Richard real quick. I got some more questions. What are some of the other? Could you describe some of the other characters that are involved, like who the main character is, if anyone is, who else is attached to it?
Right. Yeah. So the main character comes from America. He's a teenager. His parents are trying to save him from this pain. So they bring him to where? Obviously, where the human experiments happen, Wuhan, China. I mean, that's what we're thinking about. So he gets brought over to China, and he gets put through these human experiments. He gets added to his body as this biomachinery, and the parents can't pay the bill. The mafia wants to keep him in the underworld. He's the secret one with the secret blood disorder that can then, be translated into a blood power. So they off the parents, and he gets thrown into the orphanage with the other human experiments who are also of the bloodline. And they're going about the underworld in China. It's a crazy world. And, the crazy part in real life is when I was getting this published in China, I went over to call over there to see if I can get some of my Chinese publishers to work with me. They wouldn't print the book.
Oh, wow.
They had China in a bad light. On the cover, we have the American flag and we have the Chinese flag right here on the cover of number 1 in my graphic, in that art from the graffiti artist. Beautiful cover, but it has China in somewhat of a bad light there, human experiments, all that stuff. So the government told them they couldn't print my book. I couldn't use them. They refused the money.
Wow.
So I have a question on that note, because this is, of course, your baby. This is, something you clearly put a lot of thought, time, and blood, sweat, and tears into. Say the magical dream happens and you get a movie right or a TV show right.
Sure.
Is that not is that without compromise? Does China have to be part of the plot, or if like NBC says it's got to be a different country, what do you do?
The cool thing about Orphan Bloodline is, what you probably want to hear is like, I'll never break my.
I just want to know the answer, man.
I'll be all like belligerent to them. No, you may not. The cool thing about Orphan Bloodline, my series, is it has characters from all over the world. It has Mayan characters, Persian characters, Russian, German, English, Canadian wrestlers of all things. We have characters all over the world, so we could pick a layout wherever we chose, and the story would still play. In fact, that's actually what really got me excited about this storyline. Isn't just because, okay, so let's create bimbo zombies something. Okay, comic book, sell it on Kickstarter, move forward. No, I didn't go that route. I wanted to build a whole world. I wanted to build a deep, prolonged story. And so I have writers who are coming to me saying, hey, can I write my story in your world? I'm just going to do it from my perspective, or I'm going to do it with my style of art for my country. And since we do focus on, as I see right here, this is one of our tarot cards. It's a side story from the Bloodline. It's done in ukiyo-e style, the old Japanese, Imperial Japanese art style, which I'm a huge fan of. Anybody that wants to do art in their country style or from their country's background or history, anytime in history, Caesar, from Rome, they can do it, and it fits right into our world. So I spent a lot of time building the world. It doesn't matter if it's in China or not. I think it's cool because it's prescient. I have a part in a future issue where it takes place in Palestine, and the world jumped ahead of my story. I was going to say third intifada, but I guess we're already there. So
very cool. Thank you.
Anybody want to? I don't want to take up all the time. They want to ask more questions.
Do you still have the spices? Because yes, there it is. It's great on chicken. Loving it.
We got tons of spices. We got them all over the place. I'm the sauce guy in my career. I'm an entrepreneur, and I co-founded a spice and craft beer shop. So I took our bestseller. I'm just going to try some right here online. I'm just going to try some of this rub. Because it's so good. You guys don't get any. You can't have any. But
I've got some. I got a bottle.
Because you got it for me at the event.
At Fort Worth, yeah.
What do you think about it? Give us your honest opinion. What do you think?
Oh, loved it. I love it. It's my son and I both use it we have an air fryer. We fry chicken. Guess what goes on? There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I think here's really a big question on all of this. I know you just had the Kickstarter for third portion of the story.
Yeah.
For anybody that missed that Kickstarter, are you guys accepting late pledges?
Oh yeah, and we're easy going. We don't worry about following the rules. If you want to send me money, I'll take it.
I know that's right.
The thing about Kickstarter right now, and this may be a topic we can go into, is it's tough out there, man. It is tough right now. I think a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, it was like killing it, and still some people do very well, but it was tougher for me this time around. I would say that part of it was my fault. I mean, because I like to do Kickstarter the way it was created to do it, so I do half the book of art and half the book of the story and all that, and then I go through the Kickstarter and then I finish it up after I get the money from the Kickstarter. So it's not all done today. We finished the Kickstarter last week, but the book is only halfway done. And some Kickstarters, they're submitting out right now. You're getting it the day after, But for me, I actually use the money to pay for the artist. And I think not having the art done caused me to get some people to pass me by, is what I would say. What do you guys think about that?
As someone who avidly buys a ton of stuff on Kickstarter, that is never something that's, because a lot of the projects, even when I'm doing things like 3D print models, where it's just files, I know that those files are not necessarily going to be ready the day after that Kickstarter. Right. I mean, some of them it's 30 days, some of it's 6 months, some of them are even like, hey, we're going to be spreading these launches out for these over a year.
Right.
Because you have to test it. Like you said, just with the artist, you're still contracting the artist. You need to go have everything go through proofs. There's a really big process that kind of goes into that.
Right.
And as someone who's probably been with like a buyer on Kickstarter for probably 10 years. Yeah. So right around the same time Kickstarter kind of started, you may have buyers like me who we understand the risk.
Right.
But even when it's backed by, and because obviously we know some large companies are also using Kickstarter for things. I mean, I have board games that I backed on Kickstarter for big companies.
Yeah.
That they were delayed in shipping for 2.5, 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, but that makes it like Christmas. I'm like, oh, it's a box. What did I order? What is this? Oh, that thing on Kickstarter I backed way back when.
There you go. Yeah, I have a buddy that lost faith in Kickstarter because he donated to what's the Mega Man video game, Mighty Number 9.
I heard about that. Yeah.
He was just like, why did I do that?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there is always a risk that the project isn't going to be complete, but those are sometimes, unfortunately, the fundamentals of dealing with a startup.
Yeah.
So have I had a couple that I lost on? Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to follow you because I'm gonna need more backers.
So I have a question for you if Kat's done.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the great thing about crowdfunding is like you put so much work into this and now you can get the money in, you can put it into motion and you can get your thing rolling. And you seem really determined. So how would you approach this if there was no crowdfunding? Like we're back in the 90s, comics are in a boom. Image isn't really taking your calls, but you really want to get this thing published. Like how would you do it without crowdfunding if you had to do it?
Right. Yeah, the answer is the same way it was done back then, which is you just afford it. You call up your buddies and you say, let's do it together, or you just save your money from work. Or you have to learn to draw yourself. A lot of people back in the day, they were the artists and the writers. So, I mean, you just have to make it happen. And to be honest with you, my story, I've already written something like 20 comics worth of story. And these are 36-page stories. So that's a lot of writing in the paneling and laying it out and the dialogue. It's all there.
So you're maxing out your comic, like you're solid 36-page each comic. There's no like thin ones. They're all just solid.
Now when I say 36, and this is something of a discrepancy. When I say 36, I'm talking about including the cover front and back. The whole book is 36 pages. Yeah.
Right. I mean, the cover's got art on it. That counts to me.
Right. And so every book's going to be 36 pages. I already played that out. It's going to happen. All of my dialogue and paneling and paging is all written out. I have been told by other publishers that I respect people on Facebook and such. They say I'm screwing a pooch. I should go for 24 only max and just end it. I just don't think so, because that's not what the story tells me. And I'm trying to have the characters lead. I'm not trying to have the money lead or the marketing lead or me lead. I'm trying to have the story lead the game. And if the story takes 29 or 32 or whatever it takes, that's what the story takes to get that issue done. Now I'm okay with that.
Speaking of characters, I want to know who the bad guy is and what makes the bad guy in this story such a threat.
Oh man,
It's a good one.
Yeah,
I've got the first two episodes.
Did you read it?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Oh man, I really appreciate you saying that. He's only saying that for GNN right here.
The only problem is here's the only issue that I have with those first two comics is I was sitting there in Fort Worth with you and I didn't get you to sign them. That's the only problem. So I've got the two, but they're not signed. So I'll find you some other time. We'll get it done.
Yeah, I will for sure. And listen to this. This is part of the benefit of doing this indie comic style. Is I now have an editor for my books going forward, Morgan Quaid. If you've heard of him, he's done a lot of great books. He just did Dusk Witch. He's done probably 24 comics, 4 novels, and 3 screenplays. He's out of Australia, and great guy. I asked him to edit my book for me, and he did. He did an amazing job story editing, not looking for semicolons and commas, but like story editing, pages gone, pages added. I mean, the whole thing. And he did so well for me that I'm actually going to, when I do the graphic novel here, when issue 6 is finished, we're on 3 is now Kickstarted and done. We're doing issue 4 in January. When 6 is done by the end of next year, we'll graphic novel it all in. And I'm adding 4 full pages to issue 1 that you have not seen and don't know about. And it is the first 4 pages before what you've already read. And it's going to be it's really a cool addition. And this is what indie can do. I can do this because I'm the one doing it, And when I get people like Morgan or people like giving me advice like you saying, hey, what the bad guy this, or give me some feedback, I can input that into the story. That's what makes indie so great. We can change it up. We're loosey-goosey here.
Can I see the bad guy one more time? You got him on the other cover?
Yeah, so this is the bad guy here. His name is Julong.
Okay.
Which is Chinese name for
that's a cool sword.
Strong as or firm as a dragon. He's actually not. I think it was you who said this. I think he's not a bad guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's the bad guy, but is he the best bad guy? Is he the coolest character in the book? It's hard to say if he's bad. Does he kill people? Yes. Is he a drug pusher and a brothel owner? But then again, does he save the world? I mean, this is the hard decisions. I mean, what we do in our life, does that mean that is it black and white, or is there a lot of gray?
So would you put him in the same category as like later Magneto, where he's an anti-villain as opposed to a complete bad guy?
Maybe like an
exactly where he's at.
Punisher or something?
I don't think Punisher.
Punisher's an anti-hero. Punisher's just a psychic guy.
Would you count him as an anti-hero or
so
anti-villain?
I would say that the main character, Ace, who is this guy, I would say that he's more of like the Punisher. He's getting revenge. He's mad. He has skills, but he's not crazy.
Okay.
And then I would say that Julong, who's the main villain, if you will, I would say he's more like Magneto. He has a mission. He's a zealot for his cause, but he also is smart, and he's very conniving, spy-like, and secretive. But he's okay killing people if that's what it needs to happen. If that needs to happen. And there's a part of the story that I would love to share with you guys. Oh man. But I can't tell you until issue 4 because that's when it's revealed. Issue 4 is like there's this huge, deep part of Julong's backstory that will make you sometimes maybe cry at how this happens, and you don't have I don't think I've seen this in comic book stories in the past. It's so in my mind, it's so new. Maybe because I'm the writer, I'm involved in it, but it is crazy what happens in the 4th issue.
Now, one thing you mentioned is that this kind of came to be out of a D&D campaign.
Right.
Like, how do I make this happen?
Yeah.
With this, like, in the writing, is there a way for you to incorporate that into your own 5e campaign?
My buddy, he is a professional tabletop, both DM and book writer and book collector. He's like really into it. It's his ultra hobby. And I asked him if he would write a 5e tabletop RPG with me in this world because the magic is so different. Let me just tell you about the character again, Ace. So let me tell you about him. He has a blood disorder. It's hemochromatosis. This is going to get us back to the D&D part. He has hemochromatosis. It's a real disorder. All my disorders are all real in real biology. What it is it makes your body hold on to metal, especially iron. You can't get rid of it. Now, our bodies, we digest it and it shoves it out and we're done. No worries. But his body can't. He has to have dialysis to pull the metal out of the blood. And he's going through all this financial expense with his parents. He's suicidal. He's very emaciated and is thin because he's not eating food, because the more he eats, then he has to do more dialysis to get the metal out of his blood. I mean, this is a bad way. So he decides he's not going to commit suicide because his family's motto is, you got to be a hero in your own life. You have to overcome your adversity, just like Jordan Peterson teaches all of us, which I love Jordan, by the way. So I put his little quote in there with a dash JP because I just really wanted to honor that.
I'm a fan of his work too. I'm glad I'm in, company that I can admit that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ace, his name is Asen. His mom's a chemist. She finds this Wuhan, China experimental human, work going on there. Bring him over to China. This is a variant cover. This is the mad scientist. She attaches biomachinery onto him with his bracers, which are like micro dialysis machines, and pull the metal out of his blood through his wrist veins magnetically. And then compact, this is the very end of issue 2, compact that metal into micro bullets and shoots the bullets out of rail guns that attach to his bio bracers. So now he's shooting his own blood bullets out of his body as long as he eats. You portal him back to the D&D wizard, pulls him back from the future, puts him into the game with our characters of the elf and the dwarf, what have you, and he has to choose who he's going to shoot until he runs out of ammo and has to do a rest for 4 hours again, and revamp his food and his metal in his blood. So this is the character background, how I use this magic of biology along with cybernetics to create, a power, a blood power of some kind. So we're not shooting ice balls and we're not doing psychic attacks. We're actually doing biology and biomachinery. Another character is Manga, and she's not manga because she's actually named after manganese, which is the element. All of the characters have their own periodic table element, which impacts them. That's very cool. We have platinum, we have nickel, we have all these different elements because we're bringing lots of science in. But Manga, she has the ability called hyperhemoglobin, which means her hemoglobin, which carries your oxygen to your cells, it's really advanced and hyperactive. So now her cells are healing faster because they have more oxygen and more nutrients. And so she has a micro healing ability, not like Wolverine, this is not one of those games, but a micro healing ability better than ours. So they put a cybernetic eyeball into her head, which normally would fry your brain, but because of her healing, she's not being fried. And now she has this ability to use these, vision, depth perception, micro vision, X-ray vision, thermal vision, all these things. One of the cool parts that she uses is she can control a drone with her eyeball and see what the drone is seeing through her eyeball. So there's all these cool cybernetic adaptations you can do. And I think you can port that into a D&D tabletop game. You just pick your skill set. In this case, your technology. You pick your blood disorder. In this case, it would be like your backstory, what trauma you've come through. I think it makes sense.
Now, if I remember right, reading the comics, each one of these characters, as they're introduced, they have there's like an actual, I don't want to say character sheet, but something comes up within the comic book that says, okay, here's so-and-so, and here's his skill set, and this is what he suffers from, what his biomechanics are, things like that too.
So on this page here, you can see this is where I have the mad scientist and her character stuff is right there, her character dossier. Now I have a full 84-page source book, 84 pages that goes through religion, politics, factions within the bloodline, history, gods, all of it.
So you already have character Bibles.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole character dossiers. Wow. There's sacred ancestral items of power. There's blood disorder possibilities that you can even choose to create your own character through the data in the source book. I took some of those and placed them in the actual comics, maybe as a way to point people to the source book and possibly sell the source book. I mean, got to make some money, so I'm pointing people toward more information. Hopefully they're interested in. one of the feedbacks that I got from my new editor is that those dossiers are a little bit too long. I need to shorten and tighten them up. And this is all what the feedback that I'm getting. I'm getting these little tiny feedbacks to make the story better. One of them that I've implemented just now, I'll show you right here. On the bottom of this page, you see this little QR code. You had Darth.
Yeah.
Tell me what you thought about that, Darth.
It was great. It was awesome. The QR code, you scan it, and it basically opens YouTube to a song or piece of music that goes with the scene. Basically, it's a soundtrack for the comic book.
You're way ahead of the game on that, man. I've never seen that before. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's
It was really awesome.
pretty cool.
And it was, in fact, I think there was even one or two scenes where it said something like they were listening to a specific song,
right?
And the QR code zaps you to that specific song. So
yeah,
I mean, usually I see a QR code in a comic book, and it's either asking me to buy something or bail Ezra Miller out of jail. I don't see anything interactive, and that's a really nice touch, man. That's
now I did want to ask, because when you look at other comic book storylines, there's always a strongest in the group. You're always looking at, let's say, like you're looking at the Justice League, physically stronger. Superman is physically strongest of all of that team. But from what you're describing and telling, it seems everybody is kind of like on a equal playing field. Like there's no strongest of the group. Everybody's equal in terms of power.
Yeah, I would say it's how you use it and what your skill set is. In fact, in the character dossiers, it goes into what military force would they be? Would they be a tank? Would they be support? What would they do?
Right.
And their character section is itemized there in the dossier. And the reason I did that was because my kid and I were playing video games, and we had to create these teams, and we 2 tanks, a support, whatever it was, a healer. And I just thought that would be interesting to include. I thought people would relate with that from their own gaming experiences.
Can I ask a question, or does anyone else want to go? Or
go ahead, man.
All right. Where do you draw your influences from? Because I'm seeing a lot. Obviously, we've referred to Magneto. It seems like everybody having a power that complements another. You got a lot of Fantastic Four in there. The time traveling guy with the gun. I'm picking up on like Ash from Evil Dead. So where do you tap into your influences? And it seems like you're using them very well and in a very skilled manner, and you're placing them very, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say well again. But you're doing a great job from your description. I haven't read your books, to be honest, but
no, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I take an honor that you would say that. I appreciate you calling that out. What I'm hearing from you is that you're seeing there's a depth here. It's not just throw something at the screen and then take the money and run. This is where I'm building something that I hope has staying power. I agree with that. Where I get my inspiration is this. I didn't get into comic books until I was 30. That was some 13 years ago. So I was late to the game. I mean, a lot of people were reading comics in the 80s and 90s. I just wasn't. I was born in 79, so I was raised in the 80s. And I remember watching the old-timey Batman, where it's zang, zip, bop, and all this. And I thought comic books was that, so I just never got into it. I thought it was a little bit cheesy. But then when I was 30, I had a life change a little bit where I said, you know what? I'm going to shoot my first gun. And I just fell in love with firearms. I fell in love with them. They're just amazing. In fact, I took a lot of left-wing liberal people with me to the gun range. And as we're leaving the gun range, I was listening to this one girl who's one of my buddies. I said, what do you think about the range? And she goes, don't tell anybody, but I loved it. It was really cool because people could actually accept that it was a fun time. That's what it was, a fun time. That's what it was with comics with me when I was 30. I said, I want to get into this. What is it about comics that's so big? And I looked online on what was the best storylines, not the best characters, not the best publishers, not the best artists. What storyline was the best? I didn't care who published it. And I started reading the Jeff Johns 10-year span of Green Lantern. I started reading.
Johns was good with Green Lantern and Flash.
Yeah. With the Flashpoint, right. I started reading stuff that was old, like Crisis of Infinite Earths. Now, it is old. I'm just going to anybody who's new to Crisis and Infinite Earths who's watching, It is an older book for sure, and some of the characters you won't even recognize. But the story was there. That's what I'm talking about. The story brings you. I really loved Craven, his last hunt. I really loved in the Teen Titans with what's that one with the girl who's has geo powers?
Jewish Chalice.
Tara.
Yeah, Judas Contract.
Contract, yeah.
Judas
Tara.
Contract. Yeah,
Tara
that was a great story. Really turned me around with her switch. I don't care which character it is. I don't care what storyline it is, as long as the story's good.
Yeah.
And so that's what I wanted to do when I wrote the book. Is I wanted to write. I hoped this was my goal, was to have good writing. That's what I wanted, and I even didn't care as much if the art was great. Now, I'm just new to this, and I have my first 2 books done. I'm very, very proud of those, but I now understand more that I have to do even better on the art, because a lot of people do buy for the art, and I need to make sure that the art's premium. Now, my art's okay. It's good. That's fine. It's good, but there's way better artists out there. I'm not saying my guys aren't great. They're good. If you're watching, guys, okay, I appreciate your skill, but I may need to improve some of the artists. I may need to, do better editing with my guy Morgan Quaid. I may need to do better, backstory. I have to be better. I have to do better, and that's what I've learned in this last year and a half.
Now
so I'm sorry, Will, were you going to go?
Yeah. Now, what I want to know, we were talking earlier about my background. That's just from the Injustice storyline. You said you wanted to get into it. So what did you think about the Injustice storyline?
So I read Injustice. I read all of them. I read the next ones that are like the supplementals. I read all of them. Played the game. Watched the cartoon. Injustice is like this. If you want to hate something and keep reading it because it's written so well, then Injustice is your game. Because when you read it, you're going to hate it. You're going to feel like there's no way that Batman's going to beat Superman. I don't care how long he stays alive. For 12 years, he's still going to lose because Superman's the best. Some kind of God thing that's going to win. And Superman becomes a God thing. He becomes a Thanos, and I still don't believe that Iron Man beat Thanos. I thought that was fine, but I don't think it would have happened. I don't think that Captain Marvel would have punched him so hard. I think that they played that movie for the heroes and not for the actual
I'm so glad.
Hey, Brie Larson is a strong, independent woman, and she can punch who she wants, and whoever she punches is going to fly across the universe.
I'm so happy you said that because we don't particularly care for Brie Larson here. So
this is my Brie Larson right here. This is mine.
There you go.
That's a better Brie right there.
There you go.
Although I will say this, I'm going to say this: the Marvels are coming out next weekend. I've got to go see it because
that's going to make 12 people very happy.
MCU Mondays, and honestly, I'm honestly thinking about going back to Brie Larson and watching the movie again, just to kind of.
I'm going back. I'm going to see.
Man, Dave, there's better things. I can call me. You can talk privately if you want to do it. I can help you.
I'm going to see the Marvels because I want to see Spectrum, and that's who I want to see. That's who I want to see make her debut. Sure, for power and things like that.
People want to see more from Monica Rambeau.
Yeah.
They don't know a lot about the character
with everything she's done,
but they do want to see where this goes, which is where I think that may be the saving grace of the Marvels. In my opinion,
personally, I heard 2 people are going to watch the Marvels, so I don't have to. So that's awesome. Thank you guys for your service.
Miss Marvel, I liked Miss Marvel too. Guilty pleasure. So
you deserve.
I've got 2 out of 3 at least. So it can't be all bad.
Going back on the comic books, if I can, I'm kind of a misanthropic comics fan now. I don't buy anything recent in print.
There you go.
I will. Do you? Question 1: is your stuff digital? Do you have anything? You do? Okay. And question 2: if you could pick any event, because to me the last 2 events that were worth reading are a while ago. One, Flashpoint, which was ruined by the New 52 and the mismanagement of the whole universe afterwards, and Fear itself. After that, comics just started to not appeal to me. And as someone who has started reading at age 30, did you feel the same way, or do you keep reading?
Okay,
I've read comics since I was about 6 years old.
Yeah.
And I just became disenfranchised.
Well, you see, this is my sleeve. You can see me. I'm all my sleeves. That means this is who I am. Okay.
Is that a Predators or a Sabres jersey? Blues.
Go Stars. Go Stars. Woo!
Oh, Brett Hull is my hero. He's like the best drunk hockey player ever.
Yes, yes. So I'm going to be honest. You see my sleeves. I have nothing up my sleeves. I have no secrets. This is how it is. Okay. I'm going to tell you the truth right here on the air. I'm going to get canceled. I read.
You can only be canceled if you wish to be canceled, sir. So speak away.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. I read every Green Lantern, every Green Lantern Corps, every New Guardians. I read all of them. Red Lantern Corps. I read all of them. And then the Green Lanterns became not the Green Lanterns, and they made some other two new earthly Green Lanterns to replace Hal Jordan and all of Kyle Rayner and everybody. Everybody's replaced now with these two new ones. And I'm not going to wait a second, guys. Wait a second now. These Green Lanterns are over some like thousands of planets each, right? Is there no other planet in the region of Earth that has anyone that can control will? Only the Americans or only the people on Earth? Yeah. After we had 4 Green Lanterns, it was just like, come on, guys. Abin Sur was from a different planet, you know? These people are from other planets. Kilowog. Let's make a character that's not necessarily from Earth again. So
Christ, Sailor Moon represented more planets than Green Lantern does.
You see that young lady that's next to you right there, Miss Cat Holler over there?
Yeah.
She is like the embodiment of the Red Lantern Corps. That's what she is. She loves the Red Lantern Corps. I mean, you know.
And she has the cat. Do you have the cat as well?
I have a couple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does. But she's the Red Lantern Corps queen, boy. I'm telling you, she loves the Red Lantern Corps.
When I started seeing the Green Lantern Corps and the Green Lantern books shift, like the entire industry of comics shifted to start, creating characters that they were just trying to like fill voids of some political movement, what have you. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It didn't seem like it was storytelling. It felt like it was pushed, and I backed away from a lot of comics that time. But I will tell you what my favorite comics epic year-long adventure has been in the last 5 years, and I really think this is great writing. I was highly surprised. I think you're going to be also in love with it if you haven't read it yet. This is it. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Powers of X with McTaggart having powers that nobody knew about, but that seems so real, that seems so genuine that you don't believe it was thrown in there for some kind of social reasoning. You felt like it was actually telling the right story of this character. And that really stood out to me as the best, big epic turn that's happened in comics in the last 5 years. What do you think?
Well, I think a lot of. I'm sorry, I answered first. I didn't know if I didn't want to jump in.
You good.
I think what you said rings true, and I think a lot of it is that the egos of the younger writers surpass the talent of the older writers, and there's no pecking order anymore. And the way it used to be when you were in comics is you would come in, and if you were a young artist or young writer, you'd have the Jim Lees and the older guys shepherding you into this character and teaching you about the character, and you're writing, and they're looking over your shoulder like, no, he wouldn't do that. He's go back. And we have a generation of writers that think they know better than the people that created these characters.
That's a good point.
And it's really just, and they don't want to tell the character story. They want to self-insert and tell their story.
And think about
a lot.
Think about how it transitioned. Okay, in the 80s and 90s, you're totally right. They were there. In the 2000s, they had the internet where they could literally bring up 40 years ago. Green Arrow did what? What's his backstory? How do I remake it anew? That's what Jeff Johns did. He didn't just think of something out of the wacky left of his brain, which maybe he did some, but he used a lot of the backstory that was 30 years ago being built because he had the internet to research these characters' backstories and he had done his research. Today's the generation of the last, let's say, 7, 8, 10 years. This generation of writers, they have all that access, but they don't care about it anymore. They just want to write their own thing. They want to do it. It's about them now. It's their story. And
it's their truth, and it's their this, and it's their that,
right.
And it's like
right.
And it really, the problem with comics today is it disenfranchises the older fans like you and me. Like, I haven't bought a comic in 10 years because I just gave up.
Except for Orphan Bloodline.
Yeah.
More covers. There's more covers.
I'm being introduced to it. Okay. I'm meeting you. You're a very lovely person, and I will check your comic out, I swear. But I mean, I haven't bought a mainstream comic, let's say, in 10 years. DC or Marvel, I haven't touched them because it just became somebody telling their story. And it's like, tell the character story. No, you don't know what you want. Yes, I do. I want the character. I want the character that I like and I've liked for 20 years.
I've said it before. When you become disenfranchised with the mainstream, that's where the indie comic industry is there.
Yeah.
There are still things that are enjoyable in comics. I mean, I have a sub list that every week is about this big. And we all know comic books are about yay big. So you can guess how many comics I'm picking up every week.
Right.
Very few of those comics in my world are your Marvel, your DC. If I'm going to go with more known names, there's more Dark Horse, there's more Image.
Yeah.
Devil's Due.
Yeah, but even out of those, I mean, I'm getting into more like Boom Studios comics. Because you know what? Hey, if I don't like where the story's going with what is considered the big two, really, there's still so much content out there and so much great coming out of the indie comic world that, hey, you know what? Let me put my money where my opinions are, and I'll go to the indie comics.
But I got a question for you, Kate. This is a real question. I want your sleeves up here too. Okay, all on the table here. The problem that I've run into, and I want your feedback here. The problem I've run into with indie, and I've been avidly backing indie projects for the last year and a half. I think in the last year and a half, I've probably backed nearly 100, which is a lot. You know, it's like every week, right? 2 a week. I want to support them. What I've gotten to is I started reading them, and a lot of them aren't really ones that I'll buy number 2 or 3 for. And this is my problem, is that we want to support the indie, and we want to help them have the cash to get their stories to market. We want to be able to, give them feedback and all this. But if we don't have the golden ticket, that, okay, this is from Marvel, it's 2005, we know it's going to be good. This is from, whatever CNET says it's good, it's probably going to be good. We can't trust those people anymore. So we go to the indie comics, and now we have nothing to trust. We just have to buy everything to find the few that are really, really, really good. What about if we had some kind of an indie comics award or stamp of approval?
I mean, I think the Eisner Awards needs to shift towards that, but it's Kat's question, so I'll let her answer.
I thought that they had something in. Now, it may be like, it's not like a big show per se, like you get with, your Marvel, your DC. Even Dark Horse now is starting to teeter out of the realm of indie, and they're getting big enough now to where they're really considered mainstream comics, but their stories are still more independent comic stories. And have I picked up some independents where I've read like one and I'm like, yeah, I can't get behind the rest of it? Absolutely. I mean, sometimes I grab stuff off the shelf and I'm like, oh, that's $4 I'm not getting back. But every once in a while you stumble into, I mean, I have picked up comics that just the title alone was like, this is going to be ridiculous.
Ooh.
Oh, that's pretty.
Ooh.
That's the kind of covers right there. There was one, like, it was, what was it called? Sergeant Hops. It was a 4-issue
Is it about a rabbit?
Yes.
Okay, I called it.
It was about a rabbit that had superpowers and was somehow immortal. And he was a veteran who then had retired after World War II, who was brought back. The story's
That was Robert Zemeckis' treatment for Roger Rabbit 2 Toon Platoon.
The story was so beyond ridiculous, and it's like a cross between, like you said, like Roger Rabbit and like Bunnicula. Bunnicula back in the day.
Yeah.
See, I was going to go.
It doesn't talk. It has like a handler. And it's just like, you turn him out of the cage and he's like, hung kung fooey and like saves the day. It is the most ridiculous comic ever. But was it entertaining and was it enjoyable? Absolutely. Right. It was hilarious.
See, you went with Sergeant Hops and made it a rabbit, and I was going a completely other way. I was thinking, okay, here's a
kangaroo.
No, actually, I was thinking more along the lines of here's a soldier who has retired and is opening his own brewery.
No, this was actually about a rabbit.
I think one of the best independent storylines long time ago. She's still known, but long time ago, I loved that Lady Death series. I loved it, and she's still around. Don't get me wrong, but she was really strong back in late 90s, early 2000s. She was awesome, and I still think that storyline is just. Ooh,
and I'd like to go back to Rick's point. I think a lot of the problems, the comic book industry is unique.
Copycat.
It's unlike any other media industry. God, I can't come up with words. It's unlike any other media industry. I feel like Austin Powers. Allow myself to introduce myself. Anyway, I think apathy is a killer, and it's especially a killer for comics.
Yeah.
If people hate something, that means they're still reading it. If they like something, they're obviously reading it. If no one cares, that's the death knell. And I think it hurts independent comic creators because the big two, I mean, you're independent, but the big two are what draw people to the stores.
Yeah.
So in the old days where I go in, I'll be like, okay, I want my pull of the Flash. I want my pull of Iron Man. I want my pull. And then I'd go over and see like, oh, Orphan Bloodline. This looks really cool. Like, let me check a couple of these issues out. And, I might put this on my pull list. But what DC and Marvel have done is make people disinterested. And when you're disinterested in the big guys, they still survive, but the little guys suffer.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm gonna go back, and I'm gonna go back to what Kat was saying earlier about going to the indies. One of the things that make me upset, if you go back and look at this new Power Girl, I think she's got up to issue the new Power Girl series. I think it's 2 or 3 issues now. I hate.
Is Power Girl Naomi?
And you've seen it in the past. I hate copycatting, and what they did with Power Girl is take America Chavez from Marvel, moved her over to DC, moved her over to Power Girl, gave Power Girl a similar power to where she can actually punch her way through dimensions, which is just ridiculous. And I just hate that because to your point, Ambrose, it takes away from Power Girl's continue. How can I say it? It takes away from what she was beforehand, which was old school Superman's cousin, and made her into something completely different. And I don't understand why you would need to do that with a character like her.
What further confuses me is America Chavez is a character no one wanted.
Let me show you a character that's crazy. Kat had me thinking about this. Look at this. This is what I put together. I actually got this from my daughter back in the day, and I put it together for her. Look at this.
Oh my God!
Wow!
Look at this.
Yes.
It's a shame my wife's in bed. I got to tell her to watch.
Isn't that awesome?
That is amazing.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the movie, but sure.
The comics.
You don't like Kangaroo Ice Tea?
No, I didn't like Kangaroo Ice Tea.
We were talking about crazy characters, and Tank Girl's totally crazy, and I'm actually selling this on eBay because my daughter is not interested in comics, and this is what Ambrose is saying here is that when they're ambivalent to what is being created, then they go to anime. That's what they do, and anime's killing it. I mean, it's killing it. I was watching anime tonight. I was watching Kingdom. I love that anime. It's my favorite.
Even bad anime is killing it.
And I think the thing with that is because the Japanese care about the story first.
Right.
And when you have manga and anime, they're sitting in the room and they're like, how can we make this story good? Yeah. And in America, they're sitting in a room trying to write a story, and there's some dork with a clipboard at the end of the table like, Twitter's not going to like that, guys.
Right.
So we got to get rid of that idea. It's problematic.
But the problem that gets me though, they don't leave it in that style. It gets over here, it gets rewritten, and it's bad anime. If you go back and look at Fire Force over in Japan, it's fantastic over there. You get
even some of the Sailor Moons. Weren't some of the Sailor Moons just?
You get it over here. Fire Force is terrible. Same thing with Radiant. Radiant is great over there. It's terrible over here. It gets lost in translation when everything gets Americanized.
Well, it's also the difference when you go between sub and dub.
Yeah.
Because even sometimes there's some anime that like I have started watching them in subtitled, and then maybe something happened and I wanted to go back and watch it, but I can only find a dubbed version.
Right.
And it's a completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to look for the faithful ones. Like Cowboy Bebop, I think, is one of the best dubs.
Oh, yeah.
And
Trigun's good.
Trigun has a good dub. But a lot of them is just when you're right, when things get Americanized, it just
look what we're doing. Look what we're doing here. Ambrosia's right again. We have some love and we have some hate on the anime. That's what we're doing right here. We're loving and we're hating, and so we're reading and we're watching. But is comics in that same vein? Is what Ambrose just said? Is that actually happening on this podcast right now? Are we getting involved with our anime, but we're not as interested in some of these comic history stories? And I had a battle when I was first drawing and creating Orphan Bloodline a year and a half ago. I said to myself, do I do it in anime style? Do I write it backwards in black and white? Is that the way? Is that the medium that I use? It's a medium. It's like your oils or your pastels or it's your watercolor. This is your medium. Do I do it in anime? I asked my daughter. I said, hey, I'm writing a comic book, and she goes, is it an anime? And I said, no, it's a comic. She goes, I won't read it. That's what she said. And I was like, but this is my daughter. And so I don't know. I feel like I'm stuck in a hard place here because I think comics are a much better medium than the mangas, for sure. But the anime is better than our cartoons, except for the dark ones by DC, which seem to be really good usually with Batman. Those do really well. But most cartoons with Marvel heroes, they're just not that great. But the animes are really great. So is it a TV versus a print issue? I mean, it's a battle. And I think you
I think you also have fewer people that want to read.
Yeah.
And the thing with comics, one thing that we always go out and support Free Comic Book Day because a lot of times those events support the Stan Lee Foundation, which is a organization designed to promote literacy. Because most of us here are old enough. We were all born in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
To remember when there was a really high adult illiteracy rate. And you're starting to see that again.
This is true.
And some of that came from, let's face it, some textbooks are written in a ridiculous language that makes no sense. So if you have people that didn't get those reading fundamentals as kids, now they're adults, walking around with something simple like Dr. Seuss, that's the, oh, why are you carrying Dr. Seuss?
Yeah.
But most comic books are written in a medium that is still a learning point, but no one's going to question someone in their 40s walking around with comic books.
Right. Right.
But I do think that some of why anime is becoming more popular is because, and not even the manga side, because when it comes to anime fans, I know more anime fans that just watch anime and have never read the mangas they're based on.
Oh yeah, mostly. Yeah.
Oh my God, I have a cousin. The kid, he's in college. I'm like, what are you doing? It's Saturday night. You're going to go, out to the bar? He's going to chase some girls? He's like, nah, it's almost 10. I got to catch One Piece. I'm like, all right, man, do what you do.
I think one of, but I will say in some instances, comics have gotten better. You got Transformers issue 1 that just came out, and you got Starscream coming out.
That's still under IDW.
And yeah.
This is their last under IDW, this last run.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
the new TMNT, was it called Ronin? That was very popular.
Ronin, yep, that was good too. But you got Starscream coming back being that dude, because in issue 1, he killed Bumblebee, shot Skyfire, and only Optimus Prime was the only dude that was able to take him out. Then once he came to, he went out and killed a human. So now you sort of kind of get through all that a want to go see and maybe even pre-order issue 2 just to see how the rest of it goes.
It's maniacs.
It's maniacs, man. But now it just makes you kind of look like you have to have some type of shock factor or shock value to sell your second issue. And I don't know if you really need to do that.
And another issue with comics stateside. I'm not going to mention the guy's name because I spoke to him a couple years ago, and I'm still not sure if I can use his name, so I'm going to just omit it. But he's an artist. He's worked for DC, Marvel, a bunch of other publications. Not going to say which one he works for now. But he said the problem with American comics is they spend too much money, and they don't get the return on the investment, and they're not marketing to kids. They're marketing to people who are already fans, and you're not getting the new revenue in. You're not getting the young kids. You're not getting the 6-year-old John or the 6-year-old Ambrose that would go in and save up his money and buy a bunch of cable comics.
Yeah.
You're appealing to 40-year-old people that are already fans, and when they die, you die.
Right.
And I'm so sorry. And he said another 2 things that are killing them are the trade paperbacks. Because people say, sounds like a great story, I'll wait for the trade. So the floppies don't sell. And the variants.
Yeah.
When you factor in the variants, he said it costs about the budget of a independent television show to publish one comic. And you're not making your money back. If you don't make your money back, you're tanking.
Right.
And
And this is what you're talking about. This is we mentioned the Marvels earlier. I read the graphic novel for Miss Marvel, and hey, I'm going to be very proud of my wife here. When I met her, and still today, she has the old black with the lightning striped Miss Marvel uniform. You know, the swimsuit is it's beautiful. But the new Miss Marvel comes out, and she's some young girl, and I'm like, this isn't the same one that my wife was, but let me just see what it's about. And she ends up being like Mr. Fantastic, you know, like Elastic Girl or whatever. And I thought it was okay. But when I look back on it, it was just written for there to be a movie. Yeah. That's what it was written for. It wasn't written for the comic. It was written for there to be a movie.
And no disrespect to that actress that plays Miss Marvel, because she seems like a really nice person and she's a really good actress. She didn't do a bad job with the show. But this is a case of a character that no one wants that is being forced upon the audience. The book has already been canceled 3 times, and they're bringing it back again. Mm-hmm. Well, and the show suffered bad viewership, although I will say everyone that has watched the show has thoroughly enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. So there's that, and it's not for all intents and purposes a bad show, but it's a character that doesn't appeal to people, and they keep trying to shoehorn it in.
That's why she got a show instead of a movie.
Right.
But the show cost as much as a movie. So what was the point?
Well, here's the other thing with that too: is the show was, let's face it, we were not the target audience.
Right.
And so part of the reason why it suffered from viewership is people our age have gotten used to things like Loki, The Mandalorian. Things that follow along that storyline that are designed for the adult audience.
Right.
Miss Marvel was trying to do exactly what you're talking about, which is bring in that younger audience into the fold. But the only people who were sitting down and watching it were the people that already knew the fan base. Because it was designed for a teenage audience. It wasn't designed for us. Even if we enjoyed it, we weren't the intended target.
But in print, though, did the character in print was. You got to look at what the numbers were, and in print, the character was canceled multiple times. Mm-hmm. Did it really deserve a show?
Honestly, and this is from my perspective, I had no desire. In fact, Miss Marvel was one of my least favorite, and when I heard they were doing a show, I was like, why? Why? This is the show that no one asked for. I couldn't stand the character. I hated it, but MCU Mondays, you got to watch it. You got to see what's going on with the MCU.
It's my job.
It's my job. So you sit and watch it, and you're like, oh, my God. This has just put a completely new light on this character, and I don't necessarily – she's not my favorite character by any means, but now I don't have the animosity that I had towards her initially. I'm like,
That-
okay,
you know,
this is the character I like now because of the show. The show.
That's what
at the end of
Arrow
that.
did for Green Arrow. Green Arrow really wasn't that liked, but when Arrow came out, the first, I don't know, 6 seasons, and they were amazing. They were page turners, if you will, for binging on TV.
Real quick.
But Green Arrow was kind of like Moon Knight, where you'd release them and it would sell good for at least 50 issues, and then you'd be like, okay, this run is done. Let's shelve them. We'll bring them back like the McRib. Give it about like 5 or 6 years.
Real quick.
But like Miss Marvel was universally in print disliked. People just didn't buy it, and they keep canceling it. And now they're trying to make her an X-Man. And it's just now people aren't going to buy it. They're already having problems with the X-Men because every month it's X-Men go to prom or some stupid concept that I can't wrap my head around. I'm sorry. Calm down, John. Okay.
It's X-person.
But I did want to ask you, Rick. Rick, about and we can after I ask you this, we'll go around for final round of questions. I like that. I saw that in the workup.
Is that Battletoads?
No, that's Orphan Bloodline.
This is my comic. Look at this.
I like that. I like that.
Wait, you have? Oh, you put it on the video game?
Yeah, he put the cover on the video game.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. But I do want to ask you this because everybody here knows next to Brie Larson, the biggest character. Biggest Marvel character that I hate is Hawkeye. I can't stand him. I think he's useless. I hate him. And I get the show. Probably wasn't for me. I did enjoy seeing Haley Stansfield, I think her name was, the actress. I enjoyed seeing her. I just hate Hawkeye. How do you feel about Hawkeye? Am I wrong for hating on him? Am I incorrect in my thought process?
Well, I'll give you a 1-word answer, 2-word answer. You're wrong. Hawkeye is actually very good. He's way better in the shows than the book, actually.
Oh man, I thought it was all right in West Coast Avengers. I'll give him that. I
think the disconnect with Hawkeye and Nick Fury between the films and the books is that Hawkeye and Nick Fury are an amalgamation of the Ultimate Universe and the 616.
Yeah.
And Hawkeye, that Hawkeye was a misstep, in my opinion, in the movies because his story in the 616 is a lot more compelling than his story in the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah, his story in the Ultimate is no story. That's his
story.
And
they really should have taken him from the 616. Fury, I mean, we all knew from 10 years before Marvel even made a Nick Fury in a movie that it was going to be Samuel L. Jackson because they drew him exactly like Samuel L. Jackson in the Ultimate Universe and said Samuel L. Jackson is going to be Nick Fury in the movie.
Did you forget about David Hasselhoff?
He said David.
Yeah.
David Hasselhoff played Nick Fury, sir.
Don't hassle the Hoff. Okay?
Man. Come on, man.
Why you got to bring up the Hoff? Okay, this isn't Germany.
That's like the Chuck Norris. That's like a trump card. Hasselhoff, I win.
Anybody got any other questions for Rick before we let him go? He's been with us an hour.
I gotta show you these real fast. Look at these.
Go ahead.
Are those the tarots?
Reflective tarot cards, sealed, and they're graded by me, so they're not like professionally graded, but they look like they are.
Right.
Okay. Which one's an A+? I'll take that one.
These are so sweet. They're holographic, and they match the covers. These are all the 3 for issue 3 that just got funded. These are the 3 covers for issue 3, and we have the ones for issue 1 and issue 2. And you match up the book with the tarot card sealed at the Comic-Con. You buy them together. $20, you get both. I think it's a cool upgrade. That's something I want to give the people who are watching who may want to get into comic merch. This is an excellent way to go. It's very, very, very affordable to get done. If you get it done by people who can't print bad Chinese stuff, they're the ones to print this very inexpensively, if you follow.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you another question as we wrap things up here. Where can people find the books and the rest of the merchandise?
Yeah, so all the merch isn't necessarily on the website, but most of the stuff is on the website. it's orphanbloodline.com. Pretty straightforward. And then when I'm doing a Kickstarter, it's orphanbloodline.com/Kickstarter, obviously. And that brings you to the Kickstarter. I feel like what I have put together when it comes to a full package is pretty thorough. With the source book has a 20-page section of coloring book in it, which is fun for a lot of people.
Oh, wow.
You have the tarots and the buttons and the bookmarks and the stickers and all that stuff. That's just really cool to have as like merch along, the T-shirt and such, and the Nintendo game and the rub. I feel like these things are kind of simple and inexpensive to gather as a creator. So I ask those creators who are out there, put merch a little bit higher in your bailiwick. Try to get a little bit of things on there along with your book, because you can upsell these in add-ons or in packages, and it works really well. Also, something else to sell, which is what I do as well, is I put the PDFs, book 1 through 6, and I sell it for $23. So if you're buying my first 3 books, you can just buy all 6 right now for $23, and then as they come out, I'll send them to you. So it's a pre-sale of a pre-Kickstarter. I haven't even done Kickstarter 4 yet, but you can still do it. You can still buy the full set right now. That's something that gets money in the bank today for those creators who need the cash to create, which is what Ambrose asked earlier, which is how do you do it if you can't do Kickstarter? Well, we can do Kickstarter, and one way is to really forward load the money by pre-selling the whole graphic novel. If you feel like you're confident you're going to produce and you're not going to shaft people, then I think it's a great way to move forward. So these are just some of the ideas I have, and we tried at Orphan Bloodline to be incorporative with what other people feel is important, and that's why I threw out the idea of these indie comic awards. I think we should do it. I think we should put a stamp of approval, like Nintendo did with these gold stickers. We should put a stamp of approval on this. This is certifiable pro work in the indie community, and I think the artists and the writers and the editors and the letterers who are doing that book that sold to 100 buyers on Kickstarter round 3, I think they would appreciate getting that recognition. And if we don't have an Indie Comics Award for the Kickstarter crowd like we all are, then our stuff is not going to be segmented away from all the rest of the Kickstarters. And a lot of people don't want us to segment. They want all of it's good, all of it's great. But guess what? It's not all great. Even my books are just, I think they're good, but maybe they're not great. Who knows? And that's where the professional judging should come into play. And guess what? If I can get some critique from them, I'll be better. I'm actually a professional barbecue judge in my hobbies. And when you're judging barbecue, not all barbecue is great. I'm a professional chili cook-off judge.
Wait a minute. I don't believe that. You are way too skinny to be a professional barbecue judge.
It's keto.
Nah, but you gotta have the cornbread and the biscuits, man. You gotta have the whole thing. In Maryland, they serve white bread for some reason with the barbecue, and I never understood it. But that's neither here or there.
I threw one of the best chili cook-offs in the whole history of St. Louis. I'm not joking with you. We had professional chefs, we had breweries, we had all these really premium creators there. The stuff was fire. And it was not even that hot sometimes, but sometimes it was fire too. I went to my church chili cook-off, and literally it was disgusting. So there is better and worse, and we can say that, and that's okay, because the barbecue guys I'm judging, when I give them their feedback and I say, hey, this was the wrong and this was the right, hopefully next time they make it better. And isn't that what we want to tell our creators? Isn't that what we want to give them some feedback? Or do we just want to say everybody's good? Everybody's a winner. Everybody's fine. I don't agree with that. And I've gotten a lot of pushback on this Indie Comics Award idea. People saying, don't do it because you hurt people's feelings. And how can you judge art? There's no judging art. Art's all good no matter who it does. It's always great. I just don't think that should be the way it is. But
whoever said that hasn't seen Velma.
Exactly.
Or Gotham Knights.
Exactly.
Well, maybe GNN wants to be a backer on the Indie Comics Awards. I'll be working with you guys if you want to. Don't give me on the air if you don't want to. But
speaking of which, before the other people ask their questions, I wanted to know what my normal job with GNN is. I'm a writer, and I'd like to know if you'd like to one day sit down, we can correspond, and I can do an interview with you, put you in the spotlight on the site. Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely. Okay.
I'm not going to give my email on the podcast, but if you contact Will or David, they can put you in touch with me, or Kat even.
Yeah.
And they can put you in touch with me, and we'll get something set up.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the offer. Thank you for reaching out on that. I'll definitely do it. I was just this month, Comics Illustrated, the new comics magazine for the indie crowd. Their issue 2 came out this month, and they had me as one of the guest article writers. So you can get my article in Comics Illustrated this month, which I love that whole project, trying to bring light to the indie market, not caring if it's, Iron Age or not Iron Age or whatever the crap is going on Facebooks or socials. They're just putting stuff from the indie crowd out there and trying to boost the indie industry. And I support that.
And last question, where can people find you?
Well, the best place to find me is Facebook. I'm very easily reachable. People that call me on my cell phone, I always answer the phone. My wife gets mad at me because she does her phone screening stuff, and I just refuse to do phone screening. So if it rings, I answer. If people message me, I talk with them. I get a lot of Nigerians, happily, messaging me.
They trying to get you to extend your card.
I'm the same way. Pro tip, if you answer and you think it's spam, answer in a low voice. Be like, hello. Because the bot won't pick up on it. Okay. And if you have silence, you can hang up. Just like, hello.
I like that. You have a hack there. Yeah, well, hey guys, I really, really, really appreciate being on here. It was a great conversation. We went all over the place, which was good. I'm glad we didn't do tell me about Orphan Bloodline the whole time, because you know what, that's kind of boring. We had a good conversation, and I'm happy to come back if you'll have me. I'll do I'll talk with Ambrose offline. And thank you so much for supporting indie in general, because we need to have more outlets. And if you want to do the Indie Comic Awards, we'll name it something great. I don't have a name yet, but I want to help put a spotlight on great stuff. And hopefully we can.
This might be the vodka talking, but what about the indies?
Has that been done already?
I don't know.
It sounds like it's been done already. But
it's good. The Indie Comic Awards. Sweet, simple, and to the point.
I like the indies. I'm going to check it out right now. Hey, thanks, guys, for letting me on.
Brie Larson will not be here.
Oh, that's the best title ever. That's the best title ever. I agree with that one. Rick, thank you for joining us, man. We do appreciate you.
Yep. All right. See you later.
Take care now.
Take care, man.
Take care now. Have a good night. All right, you guys. That was interesting. That was a really good interview. I enjoyed it. A couple of things I want to get to before we did roll out tonight. Shaw, you still with me, brother?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Shaw mad as hell at me.
Oh my God, I forgot.
Mad as hell.
Shaw, man, you got the patience of a saint.
That damn Will. Anyway,
we will be canonizing him later.
Saint Shaw of the Geek News Now.
There's a few things I did want to get to before we ended the show. Go ahead, Shaw. Tell us the first thing on the lineup.
All right, so we got two people passed away: Matthew Perry and Richard Mole. Patient number 1, and then patient number 2.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You know, the Matthew Perry one really stings. I wasn't a Friends fan. I never found Friends funny. But when someone goes through what he went through, and you strive to be a better person, and you work to help people, and you work to get people away from the path you took, and your mission gets cut short, and it just, that one hurts. That's a good person that didn't really like his work, but he was for all intents and purposes a good person, and it's a shame that he can't carry out his mission now. So,
and this is Richard Mole.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the guy from Night Court. I didn't recognize him with hair.
Yeah, that's him. Mm-hmm.
Another great talent.
Yep.
I guess I didn't realize he was Two-Face's voice.
A little more understandable because he's older, but all the same, it sucks when anyone that people looked up to and enjoyed dies. So
Real quick too. Another thing I want to get to under breaking news, and this kind of made me a little upset. Superman and Lois has been canceled. The series will be coming to an end after season 4.
How are we gonna know if Lois recovers from Superman's cancer? What are we gonna do?
It made me
Thanks,
upset.
William. I'm gonna need another fucking bottle of vodka to sleep tonight.
I'm sorry, man.
I gave up on the Arrowverse after season 6 of the Flash. So
It just makes me
Wait,
mad.
it didn't even take Batwoman. It was season 6 of the Flash.
the Flash was all I watched.
I mean
that
you
was
said
it.
I am a
Oh
woman.
Oh my gosh! So you didn't watch Supergirl or Arrow?
The only time I watched any of the other ones was when they had the big crossover
big
events.
crossovers. Yeah.
So you had Crisis on Infinite Earths, and Flashpoint, and there's one or two
Look,
other ones. But
I've got to say, Gotham Knights was revolutionary television making because
one
the
of the
fight scenes
Arrowverse
defied
shows.
physics. Like you'd punch a dude in the face and he'd end up behind you, and
But
you'd
it
be
wasn't part
like,
of
"How
the
do you do that?
Arrowverse, though?
How do you do that?"
But it wasn't part of the Arrowverse, though. You can't really complain about it like that. It was terrible.
Gotham Knights isn't part of the era. I mean, it's the
No,
CW. It's all crap.
It's not part of the Arrowverse. I mean, it still sucked. I mean, you're right about that.
I mean, it's bad when a network has shows and you see something bad and it's like, it looks like a CW show.
The other thing I want to get into real quick, I thought was funny. He ain't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He ain't do it.
I mean,
If Nicolas Cage doesn't own up to something crazy like that, you know he didn't do it.
I think the path towards saving Star Wars is to feature Nicolas Cage as an unhinged Sith Lord. And I think it would just draw people to the box office.
My question is, so I haven't seen Flash. I mean, even though I can watch it for free on HBO Max, I still haven't watched it. Did the Nicolas Cage Superman make a cameo in that movie?
What they did was, and I'm not dumping on the movie. This is legitimately what they did. The VFX department was so lazy. They pulled clips off of YouTube
from the making of movie or
from the making of movie from even Superman 1978. They didn't even go to Superman 1978. They pulled clips off of YouTube and inserted them into the movie. That's why it looks so crappy.
Yeah, they did the same thing with because you saw the original Superman and the original Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
Those clips.
That's why Christopher Reeve was like blue.
Yeah,
it wasn't because he's dead. It was because they were lazy.
It was terrible, man. It was terrible. Another thing that I wanted to get into before we get out of here for tonight, Justice League: Crisis on Infinite Earth. We talked about that earlier. Part 1 is listed as releasing on January 24th. Shaw, do we know what media that would be? Would it be
It should be DVD and Blu-ray and such.
Okay.
But
is it going to be on Max?
I was going to say, how soon will it be on Max?
At some point. Normally, they wait like a good couple months before putting it on Max.
Because my wife has banned me from buying physical media, and I'm so mad about it.
The only physical media I buy anymore is Star Wars. So,
and the very last thing I'm gonna get into before we roll out here for the night. The newest team up, Magic Universes Beyond, is collaborating with Marvel.
How?
I feel so bad for Magic.
Good Lord.
Why?
I played Magic in high school. And even then, when I played Magic in high school, it was already up to like version 3 or 4, maybe. I don't remember.
Magic the Gathering has a enormous following.
It does. It really does.
This is confusing for me on the. I don't even play Magic, and Magic is an entity and all on its own. They don't need Marvel. But
here's the situation. Hasbro recently purchased Wizards of the Coast, and part of that deal came with it Magic the Gathering. So this particular year in particular, they have had all kinds of, we'll call them unique mashups.
Yeah.
They did a Doctor Who collection.
Mm-hmm.
So these obviously would not be sets that you could intermingle with your original Magic the Gathering sets. These would be more like standalone.
So is this a case of not being able to leave well enough alone? Because Magic in itself is it prints money.
Well, but see, now you've got Magic that prints money, and if you put Marvel faces on it, it's going to print even more money because then you'll be bringing those Marvel fans over.
Same with the Harry Potter launch collaboration they did. Jurassic
Park. They did a Harry Potter one?
Yeah.
That's all right.
I'm pretty sure it was Harry Potter.
Whatever.
Yeah. Lots of things that they've kind of mashed up with it that don't, I mean, from the standpoint of someone who plays Magic the Gathering, they don't make sense. Because, I mean, I've hopped in and out of it since, I mean, I played original Magic the Gathering.
It really doesn't make sense to me because I don't play Magic the Gathering and I don't really play D&D, but I know a lot of people that do both, and it's like,
well,
they don't care.
Magic is completely different.
Yeah.
No. But I'm saying it's when you try to infuse these things with D&D and Magic, the people that are there are there. You have a captive audience. I don't understand why you're trying to meddle.
Right, but to David's point, if you have Marvel fans, even if they don't play Magic,
they'll collect the cards.
They're going to buy it to collect the card.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's the thing.
Yep. I used to play.
It'll be a collector's
Lord
item.
Lord of the Rings was another one, which Lord of the Rings kind of made some sense.
Well, so did Harry Potter.
A little bit, yeah, because you had the magic element.
Yeah.
But you have people that they're doing some of these. There's, I believe, going to be a My Little Pony crossover.
You get a bunch of old men on that one. Get the bronies after it.
Oh, where's Tyler?
So they're going for the people that are not even going to play it. They're just going to buy the
Tyler.
Damn, man, you caught me off guard with that one.
Sorry.
Tyler, to talk about My Little Pony.
Oh, the bronies, boy.
We love you, Tyler. I'm just razzing you, man.
Woo. Man, like I say, the way things are nowadays, it's just crazy. I used to play this old game called Versus System, and I loved it. It's based off DC characters, and I loved that game. Then it got all of a sudden, I guess, the prize pools got too big because people were winning like $10,000 for winning a tournament, winning $10,000, getting Sony PSPs and PS Vitas and stuff like that. So eventually the game just went broke. But I still collect the cards. I just go to eBay and collect whatever card I want to get. But yeah, card games are just sick right now. Pokemon is always going to be strong.
Yu-Gi-Oh is huge.
I still play Yu-Gi-Oh to this day.
Pokemon's still huge to this day.
Yeah, it's still huge. Still,
it's insane.
It can crumble to the ground and just be like, "We're not dead. We got Pokemon."
The main things you see, I've been to 2 Comic-Cons this last month, and the main things you see Pokemon and you see those Funko Pops.
Yep.
That's like the 2 biggest thing. I mean, Star Wars, no. Star Trek, no. Marvel, no. Funkos, yeah. Pokemon, oh yeah, we got Pokemon. We got Pokemon for days.
Man, we need man, it's just been ooh. I need to go to another con. Hopefully I go to a better one than the last one I went to. The last one you couldn't buy anything with on your debit card. You had to have cash and there was no ATM around. So
yeah, next year if you can travel up.
I was gonna say the last quite a few that I've been to have been cashless.
Mm-hmm.
I missed Awesome Con because of my knee. We all have my well-documented knee blowout. When it happens this year, if you want to travel up, we can do that if you want.
Cool,
it's in DC.
And I missed Anime Weekend in Atlanta because I don't have any PTO to take it, but I'm gonna catch you 2024. Trust that. All right, let me see if there's anything else here. Insomniac has confirmed that Marvel's Wolverine will take place in the same universe as the studio Spider-Man games. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
That's brutal. And you know Disney hates that.
And next week we'll have Shaw. He was supposed to do it this week, but couldn't quite get to it. Next week we'll have Shaw do his PS5 review, and also tell us a little bit more about the Spider-Man games he's played too. You finished it, right, Shaw?
Yep, finished it.
All right, cool.
100% complete.
Yep, 100% complete.
Wow.
Wait, did you play with the you get damage from falling?
No, why would you want to do that?
You can't get 100% complete that way.
No, I already have 100% complete. Freaking Spider-Man. Why would you get damage from dropping? You're Spider-Man.
Because you're a spider, and you I don't know. How do you get powers from being bit by a spider?
Okay then.
I get bit by a spider, I break out in hives.
Ain't the right spider.
Yeah, it's not radioactive.
It's not radioactive. It's just a regular old bug.
I get bit by a radioactive spider, I get cancer.
Yeah, for the record, the amount of radiation that spider had is probably less than my husband has, and so he doesn't have superpowers yet. So
I wonder if Lois, they'll never do this because it was canceled, but I wonder if Lois was cheating on Superman with Spider-Man, and that's how she got her cancer, because the radioactive spider juice got in her, and now she didn't get spider powers, she got cancer.
This is so disrespectful for you to say something like that. That's just disrespectful to Lois.
How is it disrespectful? Is a hypothesis.
You would never cheat on Clark.
Especially with someone from the Marvel universe.
They're both reporters. They're all reporters. They're all reporters. It's a very fraternal community. You know, they could have been mingling, and she'd be like, "That's great, Clark. Oh, who's that dork with the glasses? I'm gonna go hang out with him in the coat room." And then she gets cancer because he had radioactive spiders.
You know what? I'm gonna. God, this just because at the last con I went to, I bought the DC versus Marvel, that little 4 series set that came out in the mid '90s, and Peter Parker was working at the Daily Planet in that, and he kind of had a thing for Lois Lane.
Ooh, that's true.
Boom.
That's true.
Oh, I didn't even know
Ambrose
that.
might be onto something on this.
Oh, that's part of the anagram universe. I got you.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that, and I called it.
I'm still thinking with my theory that it was just bad writing, because Superman is radioactive.
Cat, today's Hollywood, there's no such thing as bad writing. You're just a bigot.
Cancer, not breast cancer.
There's no such thing as bad writing in Hollywood anymore, Cat. You just don't understand. You're just a misogynist, but you're a girl, so it's internalized, and it's understandable. You can fix yourself.
All right, let's go ahead and get this. Let's go ahead and get on out. Let's go ahead and get on out there for the night, real quick. What is everybody up to this week? David, I'll start with you.
MCU Mondays, we're doing Loki season 2, episode 5. Thursdays is Canteen Happy Hour. We are on Mandalorian episode 4, I believe. Season 2, episode 4. So come play with us there.
All right.
I think that's it so far.
Okay. Shaw, what you got going on this week?
Same old. Nothing really new this week.
Cool. Ambrose, what you got going on?
I got a couple things. Part 2 of my piece with Universal possibly purchasing Warner Brothers. That's going to definitely come out this week. It kind of got delayed because, it would have been overshadowed by all the Halloween stuff. So I had to hold off on publishing it. So look for that this week, probably Monday. I'm writing a piece on the merger between Six Flags and Cedar Fair. The theme park landscape is going to change a lot in the coming years, so I'm working on that. That's going to be an interesting piece. And I also have recently gotten a gig. GNN has a Facebook page now. 2 new Facebook pages, actually. Alex Green is running the MCU extravaganza on Facebook, and I am running the DCEU extravaganza on Facebook. and follow us. It's a place, the Marvel and DC fandoms are some of the best fandoms in entertainment. We want to create a place for everybody to come and talk and have fun. So follow us. We're up to about 18 followers now on the DC page. I didn't get a count on the Marvel page. But come out, hang out, voice your opinion, be respectful, and it's going to be a good time. So just check the page out on Facebook.
All right. Kat, holler, what you got going on this week?
Well, with Geek News Now, of course, like we said, David went over the fact that we've got MCU Monday, Cantina Happy Hour. We're not going to have the Sith Dominion this week because the host is going to be out for a couple weeks, but that doesn't mean that you can't hop on over to our YouTube channel, which is YouTube at Geek News Now Official, and check out any past episodes if you weren't aware the show existed to begin with. One thing we've, of course, discovered, like so many of us folks that do have YouTube channels, is that a majority of the people that are watching our content aren't following us. They're watching it repeatedly, but they're just not following us.
Yes.
So if you're watching this right now on Geek News Now Official, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below, as well as that notification bell. That way you get notifications every time we have a new show coming up. We should have a new episode of Hobby Hut coming up. I have a miniature I need to finish painting. And
I've also got 2 episodes I need to finish editing, but that's beside the point.
So and we also have a poll up on our GNN Greats Facebook page that is still going about hobbies you'd like to see done. Like we've joked on this show many times, my hobby is collecting hobbies. So, just because it's not something we're doing now doesn't mean it's not something we might not do in the future. So hop on over there, cast your votes, and you can even add to the poll if there are any suggestions there that you'd like to see that aren't already there.
All right, guys. For myself, Kat, Ambrose, David, Shaw, thank you for being here for the Geek Gauntlet Podcast. We do appreciate it, and we'll hopefully be back again next week with our full crew. So, if there's nothing else, thank you for joining us, and I'm going to make sure you guys have a great night, and take care.
Good night, Janae.
Later.
Don't do that to